This webinar will be recorded. After the webinar, you will receive a link to the recording as well as a copy of Stephanie's PowerPoint presentation. With that, I'm going to turn the floor over to Stephanie Jordan so she can get on with 50 tips.
Thank you, Marcia. Can you hear me all right, Marcia?
I do. I hear you fine.
All right. If anybody can't hear me, please just type in the notes and let Marcia know that you can't hear me. And if at any point, just let us know. Again, I'm Stephanie Jordan, and we are going to do 50 tips in 60 minutes. Let me get this started. Okay, so like Marcia said, I'm going to move this session along pretty quickly. I have a lot to cover with you. I want to give you a lot of good information. If, as we're going through, I numbered all of our tips and tricks. So if there's any that you have questions on, if you can't get the whole tip or trick written down, just write down the number and we can go back to it. I am going to try to leave 5 to 10 minutes at the end, but again, as Marcia said, if we can't get to all the questions, I will respond to everybody via email, or we'll get somebody on the team. We'll make sure your questions are taken care of. Just so everybody has kind of an outline of the presentation, I grouped them by type, so by meaning module, inventory, GL, purchasing, sales, and then I also grouped them by version. The reason that I did that is because my assumption is across the board we have folks on different versions of GP. So I wanted to make sure you knew if I was showing you something cool that you really wanted to be able to use, if you weren't at that version yet, you would know that, and then, you know, we could talk about being able to get you to that version or what you have available and what you don't. Lastly, on each slide, I gave you a navigation path to the window, if applicable. So if I was telling you to go somewhere to do something, I kept the navigation path in there. Just so everybody knows, again, my name is Stephanie Jordan. I am a distribution consultant here with Sikich. I'm also on our support team. So if you come through support, I've probably talked to many of you. If not, potential to talk to you in the future. All right, let's get going. My first tip and trick is within the user preferences window. So up at the top, you can see how I navigate MDGP. You'll see that a lot. When I say that, the top left-hand corner, it says Microsoft Dynamics GP, and it kind of gives you a list. That's what I'm referring to, just so you know. So tip one, using the user preferences window, it gives you a way to set up your GP that works just for you. So default report destination, if you want everything to go to the screen because you don't want to use paper, you can set that up here. Entry key. Microsoft, by default, is a tab system, but a lot of folks like to hit the return or enter key to go from field to field. You can designate that here. Also, if you're using sales within the system, you can set your default sales doc type. So if you never enter quotes, then why have it be the default doc type when you enter the window? Set it to order, set it to invoice, whatever works for you. Number 4 is setting your required fields to be bold and bold. So if you've ever got that nagging message that says you are missing a field, something is not filled out, if you make it red and bold, it'll more easily stand out. It'll keep you moving more quickly. This is where you would do that. On the right-hand screenshot, it shows that you would just click the display button. Again, user preferences, user specific. So if you make that choice, it doesn't work for everybody else. Everybody can go in and make those decisions for themselves. Number 5, as I said, I work on the support desk. If you come to me with an issue, because now there's a lot of versions of Dynamics out there, I am probably going to ask you for your GP version. So from any window that you're in GP, you can click on the Help button at the top and click About Microsoft Dynamics GP. It'll give you all the information pertaining to your version. On the right-hand side, it'll say Version Information. If I ever ask for it or anybody asks for it, feel free to just send over that 14.00. In this instance, it's GP 2015. Number 6. Finding out what modules you have. So you did a little bit of research and you found this cool module, or you want to start using fixed assets but you don't know if you own it. Obviously, you can always come to us, but if you don't know, you can go to Help About Microsoft Dynamics GP, that last window we were at, and then click the Options button. That will show you all of the modules that you have registered. Number 7, using advanced lookups. So again, navigate to is on the left. This is how you would get there. And again, if you try to do some of these things and you go to Tools, Setup, Company, Advanced Lookups, but you can't see it, the potential is that you just don't have access to it. A power user will always be able to see these windows, but if you need it, we can talk about updating your security to get you that information. So what are advanced lookups? Advanced lookups they give you a way to filter and to set filters for different lookup windows. For example, this one I have my accounts. So when you go into your account card and you click on the little magnifying glass next to the account number, out of the box it shows you the account number and the account description. Well, for you, you always use the category. You want to search for all of your cash accounts or all of your payables accounts. So you want to add that as a default advanced lookup. Here is where you would see it. So when I go in on the left-hand side, there's a little down arrow. You click on that and additional sorts. About 3/4 of the way down, you'll see by account category number. That is there because I set it up in my advanced lookups. You could set it up by, type is there by default, but it gives you some options there, whether it's a customer card or the vendor card. It will give you some more flexibility to see different windows or to search quickly. Number 8, delete autofill errors. If you have autofill on and you're creating or you're looking for a customer, right, in the customer card, let's say, that's the example I have here, and you start typing it wrong. So it's supposed to be TSA, but you put TST and you hit the tab button or enter key and it says, do you want to create this new customer? And you say, no, I was just searching and I searched incorrectly. Now, every time you type in TS, it's going to be available in your drop-down. Well, I don't ever want to click on it by accident again, right? So you can just right-click on it in the drop-down, remove from list. Now it's out of your autofill. Customizing your homepage. Whenever I talk to a user, even if it's a support call or if I'm just connecting to you with work on something and we're on your homepage, very likely I'll say to you, do you use these things? Do you use Microsoft Office through Dynamics? Most folks do not. Do you actually use your metrics? They're there, they're available, but if you don't use them and you find that they're not useful, get rid of them. Take them off of your homepage. Cleans things up for you. Also, in some cases, it will make GP load a bit more quickly. Also, what you can do is if I always use my to-do or I always use my reports and I like to see them on the left-hand side, I can move things around. It's just customizing it to what looks best for you. I will tell you, the more version, the higher the version or the newer the version of Dynamics that you're on, the more options that you'll see depending on what you have installed. Number 10. GP Help. I actually think this is one of the coolest features within GP, and I don't think a lot of folks know that it's there, so I really try to highlight this one. On each GP window, there is that Help button, or you can click the F1 key. But there is in the drop-down, there's an option called About This Window. Within each window, and actually I'm going to jump to GP because I like to show this one. So we're going to come into our customer card here. And I am new to entering customers. I don't know what all these fields mean. So I'm going to go to Help About This Window. This is going to pop up. I have an overview, which is going to tell me what the window does. Why am I using this window? Why am I here? The fields is what I use most frequently. Every field that is on your customer card has a description here. If you see blue hyperlinks, it's going to send you to somewhere else. It's more information about that field. I think it's just a great quick way, if you don't know what something means, to go in and find out. Then you have a buttons option. Every button that's available, so the delete button, the print button, the save button, obviously those are self-explanatory, but there may be some that you just don't know what that means. For example, write letters. Why would I ever do that? You could come in here and see what that button does. All right, and we're going to pop back over to our presentation. And again, it's that blue question mark. It's on every single window, or you can just click F1 and it'll open for you. Number 11, custom links. Custom links are a feature within GP that allows you to get to an external website. So for instance, the one that you're looking at right here that I use most frequently, if you're in the SOP transaction entry window, and let's just say you have a third-party product that's writing your tracking number back to GP. It's stored in GP, so your customer service folks can go in there, find the tracking number, let's just say because the customer's called and said, where's my package? This gives you the ability to actually click on the hyperlink, and I'm going to show it to you now. We're going to pop back over. My sales transaction entry window, my go-to, my user-defined, so I've got my tracking number that was written back. What it allows you to do is click on this blue hyperlink that says tracking number. I only have UPS set up, but I'm going to click on this here. It's going to open UPS, and if that were an actual valid tracking number, it would track it for me. So you don't have to come in and copy paste and then go to internet and find the UPS website. You can do it right from Dynamics. Number 12, and everybody will get this PowerPoint, I have your information that you would need to set up DHL, FedEx, UPS, and USPS. So those are some of the most common ones. I think that there are a few others. If there are other carriers that you use, let us know if you want me to see what the link is. It may just be pathing out to exactly where you would search for it and pulling that hyperlink in. So that's number 12. Number 13, creating a return from a posted sales invoice. So an invoice goes out, it gets posted, and for some reason they want a credit. They're sending the goods back, they ordered the wrong thing, whatever it may be. Save yourselves the trouble from having to type everything in, type in the item numbers, because let's just say it was a 30-line invoice. You can actually create a return directly from the invoice. So you would go in to the additional button, this is a newer version of GP, and then you would hit create return. When you do that, it'll allow you to choose your invoice number that you want to copy from, and it gives you options about what you want to bring in. Well, they didn't return anything, they only returned item ABC. Okay, just choose that one, return it back in, create your return, and go from there. Paid transaction removal. So most folks will use paid transaction removal at month end. I also have some clients who run it every single day. Paid transaction removal within AR is going to remove fully applied, fully paid transactions to history. The reason we like to have people do this or have folks do this is because when you're in your transaction by customer window and you'll see how it says work, open, and history, once you do this, everything moves to history. So if you're looking for a transaction that you know is not paid, you can uncheck that history option. All you'll be seeing are work, work, which means unposted, and open transactions, which are posted but not fully applied or not fully paid. It will give you a true look at what is actually open instead of having to dig through all of these historical transactions that you know they're fully paid, they're old, they don't really matter to me. So we highly suggest that you utilize the paid transaction removal process. Again, this is one of those things, it's part of the routines functionality within GP. Not everybody has access to it potentially. You know, some of those things are restricted because it manipulates data and we just have to be very careful when we run them. So if you don't see it when you're in GP, potentially it's just a security issue. Turning off unwanted reports, and this is across every module within GP. If you're posting any sort of transaction, but let's just say it's a sales invoice, and you are hitting cancel 27 times, after you post it, because there's all these posting reports that are popping up, none of which you look at. Now, some folks look at them, some folks don't. But if you are continuously hitting cancel, save yourselves the trouble, or make it so that they aren't printing at all if you're not utilizing them, and then it just saves you some clicks. Now, reports within GP, 9 times out of 10, they can be reprinted. Posting journals can be reprinted. So don't worry about if you're turning them off. They still exist. They're just not printing for you when you go. So you can still reprint them if you need to. Moving completed purchase orders. This is similar to our pay transaction removal that we talked about in AR. This is on the purchasing side. Once a purchase order goes in, the receipt is done, and then it's invoiced. Once that entire process happens, your PO moves to closed. However, it stays in an open status, which sounds like it might be a little bit off, right? But this completed purchase orders process will move that from when it's a closed completed purchase order, it'll move it to history. Again, when you're in those inquiry windows, by doing this, you're no longer looking at data that doesn't pertain to you right now. This is history data. This is data that I'm not going to necessarily look at all the time. I want to see this purchase order, or I want to see what open purchase orders do I have, which ones aren't complete. This allows you to do that. All right, number 17. Using the item copy functionality. If you are a group that enters a lot of inventory items, but a lot of them are like inventory items, you can use this copy functionality. You go to the item card, you click copy, and what it'll allow you to do is choose different attributes. So, okay, this item is very similar in the fact that they all get assigned to the same site, or the price lists are all going to be the same. This is where you can do that. You would pick the item number that you want to copy from, and it would bring all that information over for you. So it's just a way to save you a little bit of time. Number 18, we're moving more into the financial realm now. If you use budgets within GP, if you open the budget maintenance window, there's what looks like a little padlock next to the budget ID. If you click on it, it gives you the ability to lock it with a password. If you don't want other folks being able to go in, change your budget, then you click on that padlock, you create a password, and only people who know that password can utilize that or can change that budget. Number 19 and number 20. There is a feature in GP called the Reconcile to GL functionality. Now, it sounds like it would be actually reconciling data for those of us that use Reconcile, but it's creating a report for you. And what it does is it shows you transactions that are potentially matched, matched, and unmatched from the module you choose to the general ledger. So at the end of the month, you are printing your AR trial balance, and you're looking at your AR account in financial, and they're off, and you don't know why. You can choose the module of receivables, put in your receivables account. If you have more than one, you could put in more than one. This creates a report for you, goes to Excel, and it shows you unmatched transactions. So if you see them on the left-hand side, then they are in the subledger, but not the general ledger. The left-hand side is always the module, payables, receivables, and the right-hand side is your GL. It potentially could help you identify, okay, this transaction made it to the general ledger, but it got deleted, or it didn't get posted, it's sitting out there. It kind of just helps you, it aids you in trying to figure out what's going on. Tip 20. GP 2013 actually adds inventory and bank rec. So if you're at GP 2013 or later, you have the ability to reconcile your inventory, subledger, and bank rec as well. Correcting a journal entry. So within financial, a journal entry gets entered and you realize it's a mistake. The wrong account was entered, something of that nature. Instead of having to just literally go in and create an entry, you can correct it. You can back out the journal entry, and under action there's also another option to back out that journal entry and create a correcting entry. So it's a quicker way to, what it does is it'll pull up the original reversed if you're just backing it out, so that it's just it's just one less step you have to take. It goes in, it finds out exactly what was posted based on the journal entry number that was incorrect, and pulls that information in for you. Account entry to the general ledger. So on every account card, and by default this is checked off because GP says almost all accounts you're going to want to be able to allow account entry. If you uncheck this, it will not allow transactions to hit that account when they originate in the general ledger. Most folks don't turn this off, but if you have a problem with an account being hit that shouldn't be, but you don't want to inactivate it because it's not, then you can just uncheck this. What will happen though is if you do that and somebody tries to post and they come to you and say, my batch won't post, always print an edit list. The edit list will say, this account does not allow account entry. Number 23, ability to post to a closed year. So as we're kind of coming out of our year-end season, we've still got some folks closing their year. This option here gives you the ability to post back to the most recent closed year. So everybody knows that when you close, or all of our financial folks know, when you close your year, your balances roll forward or they roll into retained earnings, right? So for some folks, you know, they're waiting for their auditors to give them adjusting entries, but that can take a few months. If you need your beginning balances, you can close your year. And in this case, as long as you have allowed posting to history checked, in April or May, when they give you your adjusting entries, you can then go post back to the most recent previous year. Now, you don't need to post back to 2015 and 2016, or create the entry in 2016 as well. You create your entry to 2015, GP will do the rest. It will create the beginning balance if it was a balance sheet account, or it will update retained earnings. You don't need to do it on both sides. Checkbook register, and I have got caught in this a few times. So if you've been using GP for a long time, there is a lot of data that has gone in and out of your checkbook. So come into the checkbook register inquiry and you're looking for something very specific. If you just choose your checkbook, excuse me, and you let the data load, it can take a very long time. It can take a long time for everything that's in this window to populate. My suggestion, change it to view by date. If you know your date range, put that in first. Then choose your checkbook, and it's only going to show you the checkbook information for that range. It just speeds things up for you. All right, tips and tricks for our professional services tools library. This was such a popular tool that Microsoft decided we just need to include this. We need to give this to folks. These are things that happen all the time. It used to be a paid tool. Now it's something that's included. I believe that it's one of the service packs within GP 10 that it just became available. But if for some reason you don't have it, we can get it installed for you. There's a caveat with this tool because it is a powerful tool. You have to be in as the SA user, and my suggestion is you always need to have a backup of the database before you do anything. All of these tools are manipulating data in one way or another, and there is no reverse. So we'll walk through what some of them are, but just understand there's no reverse. I can't undo what I've done. That's why you will always hear me say, take a backup, everybody's out of the system, and then do what you need to do. Or, if you're like me, do it in a test company first. Make sure what you're trying to do is actually what happens. So let's dive in a little bit. Number 25 is our ability to unapply historical receivables. I actually used this on a support call today. So you have put in a AR invoice and you got a cash receipt for it. You ran paid transaction removal. It moved it to history. you realize that you applied the wrong cash receipt or a cash receipt to the wrong invoice. Well, it's in history now. So unless you plan to void it, there's nothing you can do until you have this tool. You can come in here, you can unapply, and it will unapply the invoice from the payment. I will tell you to be very careful with this tool. It will unapply what you tell it to, whether you mean to or not. So we've had instances where everything for the customer has been unapplied just because more than what should have been checked off was. This is a tool I will always suggest try and test first. At the very least, you need to have a backup before you do it. But it is powerful, and it can help you do it. It certainly can make life easier. Number 26, account modifier. So you have a couple of folks in the system adding accounts, and the same account gets added in twice, but it has, one of the segments is just slightly off, or two accounts need to be combined. We're not going to keep them separated anymore. We can use this tool. We can combine information. Again, there is no undo. Once we combine them or once we modify them, there's no going back. Not to make that sound scary. I just want to make sure we're careful. Vendor combiner and modifier. This is a tool we have folks all the time. If you have more than one person entering vendors and they slightly skew how you normally enter your vendor IDs, you could potentially have the same vendor in there a couple of times with, Shirley is using vendor A, but Debbie is using vendor B, and then we realize 6 months later that they're the same thing. This vendor combiner tool can combine them together. The destination vendor is going to be who you want to remain in the system. This is part of the PSTL until you get to GP 2015. It comes out of the Professional Services Tools Library and is a GP utility. I will tell you that doesn't do a whole lot for you in the fact that you can see it if you have access to it, but you still have to be in as SA to use it. All right, we are going to move to GP 2013, and we are at number 28. I apologize, I haven't been saying the numbers as we go. We're number 28. This is a very cool feature that allows you to copy and paste. A lot of our accounting folks live in Excel. However they're creating transactions or journal entries, maybe they're pulling it from other systems and it's getting exported to Excel. Microsoft has created a way for us to take that information and just paste it in. There's no need to integrate it. There's no need to hand type it. We can just copy and paste. My hint here, when you're copying your Excel file, exclude the header line. It'll just make, it won't pull in properly. Highlight your section, hit Control-C to quickly copy your data, and then hit the paste button once you get into General Ledger, or once you get into the journal entry screen. Number 29. I can't tell you how excited folks were about this feature. The fact that Microsoft added the ability to reprint your outstanding transactions report. This comes in GP 2013 and allows you to go back. You're doing your bank rec, you're trying to get it done. You don't print all the reports, the printer jams, whatever it may be, you don't get your outstanding transactions report. This allows you to go back and reprint it. You'd have to print it by the audit trail code, but if you do in the lookup, it should show you the date of when the bank rec was done. Number 30. Another cool feature that was added, it gives you the ability to sort your payables checks in different ways. Whether you want it to show by payment number or state or city, zip code, whatever it may be, it just gives you a little bit more control over your check printing process. Number 31. Microsoft added the ability to reverse a year-end close. So let's say I closed 2015, I'm on to 2016, and for some reason I need to post back to 2014. In earlier versions, we'd have to go to Microsoft. Microsoft would have to work with us to reopen 2015 so that then we could post to 2014. Well, this will give us the ability to reopen 2015 on our own. Again, this is one of those tools you have to be very careful with. You need to take backups. And everybody has to be out of every Dynamics GP database. So if you have more than one database, this is one of the only tools that I know of that makes it everybody has to be out. Whether it's the company you're changing this in or not, you have to be completely out of the system. But it is powerful. It gives you the ability to have some more control and to go back if you need to without it being without having to be such a production. This is not one of my tips and tricks. I just like to bring it up when I get to this slide because a lot of folks don't see it and they don't notice it when they're doing the year-end close. In the newer versions of GP, there is an option to maintain inactive accounts. If you don't check that and you have an inactive account that has a zero balance, Dynamics is going to get rid of it. So you want to check that off, and then when you check that off, the with budget amounts or with inactive or all inactive accounts will become available. If it's just because it's on your budgets that you want to keep it, then you could just say with budget amounts in there. But if you're using the inactive to make it so people can't post there, can't create journal entries there, then you want to keep all inactive accounts. That's kind of a side note on that slide. Unit accounts. So not everybody uses unit accounts, but some folks do. And in the past, when we got to the year end, when the year end was closed, we'd have to go in there and run some SQL scripts to bring the balances back to zero. Microsoft has empowered you to do that on your own. So unit accounts, there is now a checkbox that says clear balance during the year end close. It does just that. When you close the year, it'll zero it out. And when you look at your I know mine says 2017, Microsoft pushes us forward, but when you look at your 2016 beginning balances for your unit accounts after the year, they will be back to zero. 33. There's some more power within inventory. It's allowing over and under receiving with quantity tolerances. This is on your purchasing card, so when you're on your item card and you click the Go To and you go to purchasing options, this is now available at the bottom. 34. Reason codes within inventory. So everybody has to deal with variance, if you're using inventory, variance transactions. Your marketing team comes in or your sales team comes in and they say, I need to take these to a trade show with me. I need to take these physical goods with me. So if you're anything like me, your inventory has to be accurate. You just want it to be accurate. So you're going to take it out. But when you take it out, really, if you're having your accounting, if it's complex and, well, Susie came and took it from me, she took it for marketing, it should go as an expense to marketing. This reason code here, not only does it show you or give you a reason as to why it's happening so you can run reports off of it, you can see it, but it also can drive the accounting. So when this happens, it can show which offset account it should go to. Excuse me. It'll obviously offset inventory, but it would offset, our marketing expense. In this case, I have a shrinkage or waste account. It also gives you the ability to show what kind of transactions use it. So if, let's just say this is an adjustment, we should never be billing marketing if we don't know what happened to it, right? If they came to us, they wanted to take it, it should just be an adjustment. These are transactions, we know why it happened. And again, another big thing is you can use them in reporting. It gives you more control, it gives you more view over, okay, so they did an adjustment for 5 pieces, well, why? Why did they just do an adjustment? We don't know what happened to them. Smart List Designer. Some folks may own it. Smart List Builder was a tool you had to buy, had to add on, gave you the ability to link tables. Smart List Designer is sort of like I don't want to say less powerful, but you can't do quite as much as you can do with Smart List Builder, but you can do quite a bit. It allows you to link tables. The example I always give is we'll go back to our sales transactions. Our customer service team wants to see our orders in the system, and they want to see which ones have tracking numbers. GP out of the box, those sales order windows or those sales order smart lists don't include the tracking information. This gives you a pretty simple way to link tables and create it and add that table so you can create your own smart list and see the tracking number along with whatever sales order transaction information you want to see. This is definitely one of those things where if people are interested in really kind of diving in, let us know, speak with your CAM, or even send us a quote or question here. We can get you in touch with someone who can really dive into this sort of thing with you. Fixed assets, for those folks who use fixed assets, there's an auto number feature that just, I mean, if as far as your next asset ID, you don't necessarily care what the name of it is. You can create a next asset ID, and when you create a new one, it'll pull that information in. Staying with fixed assets, there is a new option to reverse depreciation. This gives you the ability to not have to reverse it one asset at a time. You can choose whichever books and reverse depreciation for more than one asset at a time. Excuse me. Check for open purchase orders when enter payables transactions. From a person who's distribution-minded like myself, I think that this is a feature, and this is 2015. We kind of jumped to 2015. This is an awesome addition to Dynamics. So, purchase order went up. A receipt was done. Our AP team received an invoice. They couldn't figure out what receipt it should be matched to, so they're going to go in and they're going to enter an AP invoice. If you turn this on, if they have orders out there that have not been invoiced yet, it will tell you. So it can keep folks from creating AP invoices, because all of my purchasing folks know if you don't do what GP wants you to do from a purchasing standpoint, it'll leave purchase orders stranded out there. It wants to purchase order be put in, it wants to be received, and then it wants to be invoiced so that it comes off your received but not yet invoiced report. This is just kind of a catch-all, or this is kind of a way to alert those folks that there may be something out there, and still it may not be the right one, but it may start the conversation to figure out where is the actual receipt. Did we get these goods? Excuse me again. Okay. Payment terms. Microsoft has just built in a more powerful payment terms option. So, you know, discount days or discount types and where the discounts are. Calculate. It's more powerful. It was a little bit stringent in the past. It didn't give you a whole lot of options. This will give you some more options for how you want to create payment terms within the system. This one, again, this is a system setting. Most folks won't have access to it. Purchasing, again, for those folks that have SSRS deployed, there is a new accrued purchases, within accrued purchases, and there's a new historical received but not yet invoiced report. So we utilize it to say, what do I have out there that I've received but I've not paid for yet? Well, let's say I want to see that as of the end of the month. What was my accrued purchases number at the end of April so I can balance it in my GL? And again, if you don't have SSRS deployed, we can most certainly help you with that. And this one, just as a note, this is 2015 R2. Another 2015 R2 enhancement that I think is great, that if you have it to use it, is an all-in-one document view for purchasing. So any of those folks that are in the purchasing inquiry window and they've got to look from, okay, so there's my purchase order, and then under it's my shipment, and oh, I have 5 shipments and I have 4 receipts. It can be hard to all see. So this gives you the ability to look for a purchase order and see all the transactions associated with it, excuse me, in a more in one view, in one screen, and it gives you more information. Excuse me, I just take a sip of water so I stop coughing in your ear. Number 42, visual indicators for customers over their credit limit. So people know in the past, or our AR folks, if customers over their credit limit, you would get a little pop-up that says they're over their credit limit, you want to keep going. There are 2 options now in the receivables management setup, and I'll show you on the next slide what it looks like, but display over credit limit icon and warn if the customer's over the credit limit. So top left-hand window, that little yellow triangle, that is your indicator that they are over their credit limit. Everywhere you see this customer, excuse me, you will see that icon if they are in fact over their credit limit. On the right-hand side on the top, trying to enter a transaction, they're over their credit limit. Do you want to continue? Number 43. Folks are upgrading, right? They're upgrading their Dynamics GP version. They're going into their sales transaction window and they are saying, what is going on here? I don't have any of the things that I used to have. Or I'm seeing all these new things that don't make sense to me. If you're a creature of habit like myself, the user-defined window and the sales transaction entry screen should be in the bottom left-hand corner. That's where it was. That's where I personally like it. But it just depends. On the action pane, it's in the go-to button. So go to, and it would show you your options. All of these options are in user preferences. So let's just say the menu bar is going to be what you're used to before you upgrade. It's kind of what has been there in the past. Go to user preferences. You would choose menu bar. You'd save, open your sales transaction window, and nothing changed. This is one of those you have to log out of GP and log back in. It'll change it. 44, automatically depositing cash receipts. So cash receipts come in, then I have to go to bank deposits, I have to bring them in, I have to do all of that. You don't have to do that anymore if you don't want to. This is a system or a company setup. You can go in here, automatically post the cash deposits, and then you can just kind of go on with your day. Excel refreshable reports. We're going to jump into GP for this one. I think they're very cool, especially for our Excel-minded folks who, you know, like to see things in Excel. It's what they're used to. It's what they're comfortable with. So these are reports that need to be deployed. But once we get them deployed, we're going to come into here. And I do a lot within sales. You'll see them on this left-hand side in your navigation pane. You'll see Excel reports. It'll open a navigation window. And you'll see two different options. You'll see data connections and you'll see reports. Data connections are, it's looking out to the database. You can use those to create pivot tables or spreadsheets. It just is pulling the data for you. So I'm going to come down here to customers. And let's just see here. Let's just do customer balance. So I'm just going to double click on this report. Nothing shows up. I have mine set up so that I have to type in my password each time. All right, so here we go. It's going to show me my customer balance by customer in Excel. I can sort, I can do whatever I need to do, but it's going to show me that information. And that just happens to be because of the one that I chose. There are a bunch of different options in here. Let's just go, let's pop over to financial. Excel reports here. And let's just look at, let's make this a little bit bigger. My account summary. Again, I'm going to put in my password. All right, so it will show you, this is an account summary for transactions. It'll show you all of the information based on year. So again, they're a powerful tool. They're there for you out of the box. I believe it's 2013 on. I'd have to find out exactly what version on this one. I apologize. But they're there, they're usable, and they're powerful. There are ways to create your own Excel reports. I would not be your expert on that, but can certainly find you someone who is. All right. 46. This is kind of an add-on to our Excel refreshable reports. If you have someone who is really SQL-minded, they know how to create SQL views, or if you want us to create you a SQL view, there is the ability to create a Smart Designer report. And using a SQL view, you can hit the publish button, and if it exists there, it can create an Excel report for you. So if you're more comfortable in Excel than you are in SmartList, because you take your SmartList reports and you export them anyways, this is the way you can do that. There are, some requirements for it to work. Again, there has to be a SQL query. I do know that they're building on this. They're looking to make this more powerful, to more available. So things will come as versions go. And then just some security roles have to be there, and then obviously Excel reports have to be deployed. All right, workflow. So GP 2015, if you're utilizing workflow, if you're not, this is new to a lot of folks, it added some additional features. Sending document attachments with workflow notification emails, scanning payables, invoices, and attaching them, being able to submit through workflow, and then workflow notifications emailed for invoices. These are all things that are additions to the workflow functionality. Again, I will be very honest, I've worked with workflow a bit, but I included as our bonus over here a demo. It's just a short YouTube video that shows you how the workflow functionality works. It may be something to take a quick peek at, see if it could be beneficial to you and your users, and then, with the option to potentially implement. So I made it in 47 minutes. I spoke really quickly, and I apologize if I spoke too quickly, but do we have any questions?
Okay, thank you so much, Stephanie. That was really awesome. There were a couple of questions entered early on, but I think there were a number of people who logged on after we indicated that they could designate a number of the tip and type in their questions. So it's not too late, however. If you have questions, and there are quite a number of you out there on this call with us today, type your questions into the question box, and even if we don't have time within the next 12 minutes to answer them, we will answer them offline. So if you had any questions along the way, please feel free to start typing them into the question box now. Also, I did send an announcement out through the chat box, but in case you didn't see it, I do want to let everyone know. Some of you came into the session a little after I made the announcement. I will be sending you a link to this recording. This session is being recorded. You will also receive a copy of Stephanie's PowerPoint. So I see that people are starting to type in questions now that they know they can, Stephanie. And let me, okay. I want to take them in the order that they came, so to be respectful of people who asked questions earlier. One question is, any known incompatibility issues between GP and older versions of Microsoft? Otherwise, what is the minimum supported Microsoft version by Microsoft?
And when you say Microsoft version, I assume you mean Dynamics, right? Like the beginning of the question made me think that maybe you were thinking Office supported with Microsoft, but in general, you're talking about what version of Microsoft Dynamics GP will Microsoft support at this point?
I think the latter.
Okay.
We'll try that, but if that doesn't answer the question, they can clarify with another entry into the question box.
So my answer is going to be, I don't know specifically what version number that is, but we absolutely will find out for you. So Marcia, if you could just take that down, and I will get with our team and find out exactly what version Microsoft has stopped supporting at this point.
Okay, and I'm going to write that down. But let me just add that there are versions that are no longer supported by Microsoft that we still support. Is that not correct?
It is. We will, If they come through with a version, we will do our absolute best to help you in any way that we can.
Right.
It just comes to if we need support, if we need help from Microsoft. But you know, a lot of times we have folks who have potentially used that version. We can certainly do our very best to help at any version.
Alrighty. I know there are more questions here. I just can't seem to find them. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm running GP 2013, but I don't see any Excel reports. You mentioned that they were out of the box.
They are out of the box, but they do have to be deployed. So it could just be that the reports, if you don't see them in your navigation list, it probably means that they just haven't been deployed yet. And that's one of those things that we can certainly send you instructions to do that, or we could, you know, get you on the phone with somebody to help with that.
Okay.
And I think, let me just pop over to GP for that person. So if in tool setup system, reporting tool setup, that's where you'll find out if they've been deployed or not. Down here at the bottom, it'll say deployed reports for one companies or not deployed.
Okay, thank you. Next question. How do you turn off reports after posting a batch?
So it's not turning them off after posting the batch. You actually would come to Tools, Setup, Posting, and Posting here. You choose your series. Let's just say it's sales. I think that's the example that I used. And sales transaction entry. So before you even do the posting process, you would have to come in here and see where it says print. You would just uncheck them. That would turn them off before you actually do the posting process. If they're on, once you've started posting, you've got to hit that cancel button if you don't want them.
Okay, thank you. In what GP version does the Excel refreshable reports become available?
I will find out exactly what version. It's in 2018 at some point, I believe. I don't know exactly what version. We will get that answer to you.
Okay. Is there a way when looking in financial summary inquiry to have it update after a journal entry instead of having to close and reopen the window in GP 2010?
There is no redisplay button here. And there's not in the newer versions either. So my answer to you would be no. You would actually have to close it and go back in.
Okay. Is there a preference available to gray out, and that's in quotation marks, fields on purchasing windows that are currently unused to make keying more efficient?
So you're tabbing through. There is a tool called Modifier. We could potentially modify a window. Out of the box, the answer to that is no. We could potentially modify the window to get rid of the field depending on what it was. I think that would be a conversation we should have further. What fields are you trying to not have to, type in? But out of the box, there are tools we could use to potentially do that. We would just need to get more information.
Okay. Let me see if that's the last question or not. I believe that is, oh, wait 1 second. Nope, I believe that is the last question. So we have 4 minutes left. I'll just wait and see if any other questions come in over the next couple of minutes. And after that, we will end the webinar. Thank you all so much for attending, for participating with your questions at the end as well. And again, I'll be sending you the link to the recording, a copy of the PowerPoint, and any unanswered questions we will answer in a subsequent email as well. Anything that we took note of that Stephanie and I noted, we need to go back and answer this question. So, going to give it just 1 more minute to see if any new questions come in. Is there any way to run the GP reports on unposted information? We do not post as we go.
GP report. So you can certainly run smart lists. If we're talking about, can you read that question for me one more time? Was it general ledger transactions they were talking about?
It just says, is there any way to run the GP reports on unposted information? We do not post as we go. Let me see if any additional information has been entered. Not yet.
Okay, so within GP, if you've got unposted transactions, whichever module that they're in, if you go to the smart list, there's, I believe in all of the modules, and they change it on me a little bit, but there's a field called document status. If you pull that in there, document status will tell you what type of transaction it is, whether it's work, which means unposted, open, which means posted, or history, which means it's been moved to history. But there, you should be able to get to all that information. It just kind of depends on exactly what you're looking for. But yes, you can get to all that information in reports.
Awesome. Oops. It looks like there's one more question coming in, I think. Yep.
Okay.
When I go to MDGP Tools Setup, there is no posting listed for me to change the printing reports.
That just means you don't have access to it. So your security privileges aren't high enough, or don't include the ability for you to do that. So you can either go to an admin, or if you want to come to us, we can work together to grant you access if you need to get in there, or if for some reason you can't have access to it for whatever reason that may be, we could certainly help you with changing that. Okay. But you're exactly right. If you ever go in here and you don't see something you're looking for, 9 times out of 10, it's access.
Right, privileges that haven't been granted.
Yep.
Okay. All right. We are at the top of the hour. I don't see any additional questions. So this was 100% perfect. We started at exactly 12 o'clock. We ended at exactly 1 o'clock. That's practically unheard of. Thank you, Stephanie. Thanks for all of you who joined us today. And we will be back in touch with you shortly. Go have lunch and enjoy your afternoon.
Thanks, everybody.